1919 was an auspicious year in history. The First World War ended, ushering a drastic change in the world order. The Philippine Islands had been a U.S. territory for 2 decades and was promised independence under the Jones Law of 1916. Progressive reformers saw the country and its people as a major target for modernization, and education was its main weapon. 7 forward-looking Filipinas came together in 1919 to create a school where young women could gain the knowledge and skills that would make them modern women. Paz Marquez Benitez was the first president of the Philippine Women's College. Jose Abad Santos was its first chairman of the Board of Trustees. Francisca Tirona Benitez was the second president, and with her husband Dean Conrado, guided the school from a house on A. Flores Street to its iconic Taft Avenue campus. In 1932, the college became a university, making PWU the first university for women in Asia founded by Asians. It provided a space where innovations in education flourished, and young people were encouraged to be the best that they could be. For over 100 years, the Philippine Women's University has been known as a leader in quality education. In 1934, PWU moved into its main campus on Taft Avenue, and since the 1970s has been co-educational. Located in the heart of Metro Manila, it is easily accessible by public transport and surrounded by affordable housing. Today's PWU offers undergraduate and graduate courses in several fields of study. Its business and management programs are responsive to the needs of industry, using evolving technology for global competence. PWU graduates excel in arts and sciences, education, social work, and diplomacy. Its fine arts and music programs have produced outstanding graduates through a holistic education that treasures heritage as well as excellence. PWU has pioneered in fields such as food science, nutrition and dietetics, medical technology, pharmacy, and nursing. PWU continues to play an essential role in producing graduates who possess the skills that make them competitive in the country and anywhere in the world.
Pleasant day to everyone. For our webinar rules and regulation, find a place conducive for listening, put your mic on, off, or mute to avoid unnecessary noise and unusual sounds. Lend an ear if someone is speaking. Let him/her finish the statement before stating your point of view. For the question and answer portion, prepare your questions for the resource speaker and wait for the cue of the host on when to submit it via live streaming chat box. Observe online etiquette at all times. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for finding time to be with us. Today, I am Anne Neri, a student of Philippine Women's University, Doctor of Philosophy in Nursing Program, Assistant Professor of Nursing at De La Salle Lipa in Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Pasay. Will be with me shortly is my co-host, Assistant Professor of Nursing of De La Salle and Medical and Health Sciences Institute, and BDRRMO consultant, Mr. Justin Valles. Before we proceed, I would like to inform you that we are live via Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. Please click share so that more of our nursing community may join us today. To prepare ourselves for this morning activities, let us offer this day to the Lord through a short doxology. And now, let us pay our respects to our Philippine flag through the pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, pero saan sinanganan? Alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyat ka ng magiting. Sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiid. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bukaw. May dilagang tulat, awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kisap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdidigdig. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidinig. Lupa ng araw ng lalhatid magsintabay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya dapat may mga ami ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Good morning once again. We are so happy with your presence and participation in this activity. Since we have started the program, we are strong 300 and still counting. These figures are already across our 3 platforms. So please, do not forget to click, like, and share so that more people may be within our reach. And now, to formally welcome you all to this morning activities, we would like to call on our mentor. He is the Nursing Service Director of the Women's Wellness and Research Center of Qatar, our Professor in Policy and Ethics in Nursing Practice, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. David Hali de Jesus.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Neri. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. To our dear colleagues in this platform, guest speakers, students, the deans and program chairs, participants, let me take this opportunity to welcome you all on today's webinar. I welcome all the 3 eminent speakers who are indeed an expert in their own respected field. I appreciate that the sharing of knowledge that you will be giving us today will be of great value to all of us here in this platform. Much as I wanted to say, let me just express some few points. The crucial role that the nurses can play in policy making. Studies have found that currently there is actually no to a very low involvement of nurses in policy making, at both in the organizational as well as even in the national and international levels. These inadequacies and in this involvement that we see in policy, the same with the ethical issues that they're facing right now, attributes to the inadequacies that would synonymously say a very bad healthcare system. The factors that we see right now can somehow be of great influential both that can affect our current and future healthcare issues. The understanding of this nature on our teams today, policy and ethics in nursing practice during the pandemic, can somehow be of great importance for us so that we may be able to be equipped on how we can look into forward on the policy makings, our ethical issues, the challenges that we face as nurses while we're working in values, policy, or other issues and challenges. And for this matter, I would come up with having 2 reasons. That would enable us, the nurses, to inform that the management and its leadership position about the current state of nursing knowledge would eventually give us a better ways on how to look prospectively, scientifically in the policy making and how we can improve them. Secondly, with this webinar, we look into the aiming of the advancement of our nursing science. And with this regard, we can also have to look into the awareness of increasing the nurses' involvement, which I believe right now it's a new time. So may I just say thank you once again in advance, and I look forward to the success of this webinar, to the PhD student, to the PW community who in many ways had made this event successful. Thank you, and I welcome everyone.
Thank you, Dr. David. And now, may we call on our dear classmate, the Ancillary Service Manager of Calamba Medical Center, Ms. Mariel Castillo Sevilla, to introduce us to this morning's speaker.
A pleasant morning to everyone. Our distinguished keynote speaker this morning is a man who doesn't believe in luck and fortune, but perseverance opened the door of becoming who he is now. An academic scholar and graduated with honors as cum laude, finishing his bachelor's degree. He is a registered nurse, midwife, and a registered professional teacher with master's degree in nursing and currently working his dissertation for Doctor of Philosophy, major in educational management. Currently, he is the Dean of College of Midwifery of Tomas Claudio Colleges in the province of Rizal and the faculty of the College of Nursing of the same institution. He is also a part-time instructor of the College of Science in URS Morong. He is a member of the Association of the Philippine Schools of Midwifery and a lifetime member of the Integrated Midwifery Association of the Philippines and Philippine Nurses Association. He is a proud Rotarian from Rotary Club of Lakeshore Rizal, a Paul Harris Fellow of the Rotary Foundation of the Rotary International. He is the youngest governor of the Philippine Nurses Association, representing the largest region with 10 chapters, Region 4, the Calabarzon, and Mimaropa since 2018. He is the 2019 Vice President for Programs and Development, and currently he is the National President of the Philippine Nurses Association. He is an active advocate of Filipino nurses' rights and a product of the first PNLI, Philippine Nursing Leadership Institute of 2015 by the Philippine Nurses Association. He religiously attends conventions, conferences, seminars, and symposia annually to keep abreast with the new trends of his profession, particularly in the healthcare field. Similarly, he never fails to attend trainings to keep self-updated, thus delivering competent practice based on the best available evidence-based standards. He was lucky to be invited in different seminars, conventions, and commencement exercises as guest and resource speaker. A caring nurse, a passionate nurse educator, and a dedicated nurse leader. To all of our participants this morning, it's a great honor and privilege for me to introduce and welcome Mr. Melbert Reyes.
Thank you, future Dr. Castillo Sevilla. Maraming salamat po for that very generous introduction. And allow me to greet first the PWU President, Sir Marco Benitez, to the graduate school, Dr. David De Jesus, Professor, and Dr. John Oliver De Leon, the overall chair of this activity. Thank you for the invitation. Opportunity. To Honorable Sandra Montano, ma'am, nice seeing you here again, and Dr. Mula Sprouse, and other speakers, and committee heads, faculty members, students in the PhD in nursing, in the whole nursing community, na napapanood tayo via Facebook and YouTube, no? Actually, it's very interesting, no? The topic was very interesting, policy and ethics during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, sinabi kasi nating policy, political advocacy yan, no? And yung ethics is how we manage, no, to do right, no, at this amidst pandemic. Kaya naman po, let me somehow, no, give you a tweak, no, of the topic as I delivered the keynote address. Yeah, so let me share my screen first po. Yeah. You another flavor of this topic wherein I wanted to focus on the word advocacy, no? And this advocacy, you know, policy, ethics, no, it covers all, di ba? And if advocacy is a professional responsibility for nurses, at this time kasi, sino ba yung dapat natin, saan ba tayo dapat maglilin on? Sino ba yung dapat natin, kahit kanino ba tayo dapat maging dependent? Ano? Yan. At this time, sino po ba yung dapat maglalaban ng karapatan natin at ng karapatan ng ating mga pasyente? Because we are patient advocates. Tama po ba? Yan. Okay. So ano po ba yung advocacy? Advocacy is an important concept in nursing practice. We serve as patient rights advocate. It is an ethics of practice, a viable role for nurses. Is it all about patients advocate? The American, no, ano ba yung patients advocate? We help nurses, di ba? We help our patient, no, support our patient, guide them, everything that uphold the rights of every patient that we are dealing with, no? Yan, uphold the rights of every student that we are, no, educating. Yan. So sabi ng American Nurses Association, di ba? Also addresses, kasi yung ANA also addresses the importance of advocacy in its code of ethics. especially in the provision 3, wherein it states that the nurse promotes, advocates for, and protects the rights, health, and safety of the patients. Clearly, advocacy is a key tenet of nursing practice. Yan. So the following forms the basis of nursing advocacy: preserving human dignity, patient equality, and freedom from suffering. Ano po ba yung preserving human dignity? Nurses are in unique position that allows them to integrate all aspects of patient care, ensuring that concerns are addressed, standards are upheld, and positive outcomes remains the goal. Then we have patient equality. The healthcare system is constantly changing. The only constant in this world is change, actually, both in terms of organization and technological advancement. Okay? Then, with these changes come shifting regulations related to the delivery of care and health services. However, nurses must remain above the fray, advocating for patients with compassion and respect for the inherent dignity, worth, and unique of every individual, unrestricted by considerations of social or economic status, personal attributes, or the nature of health problems. And we have freedom from suffering. Nurses enter the profession because they have the desire to help others. The core value of helping to prevent or manage suffering is a significant part of this. This can be achieved at the physical, emotional, or psychological level, and is one of the most important aspects of patient care. Nursing professionals should be available for patients and their families as advocates for their well-being. Di ba? Yeah. So yan yung pinakamalaking problem natin. This is the biggest problem that we are facing now. No? Hospitals, healthcare institutions are lacking of nurses. No? Because nurses are leaving the bedside. We need nurses now. No po? And sabi po sa ethics, it is our professional responsibility to take care of patients, families, and communities, and advocates for their well-being. Kaya po importante yung advocacy. No? Ngayong pandemic, kung ang pinag-uusapan po natin ay policy making at saka ethics. Okay? From a very basic perspective, nursing advocate ensures the voice of the patient is being heard and respected. In this role as patient advocate, the nurse guarantees the decision and needs of his or her patients are the primary concern of the doctors and other healthcare professionals. The advocate often makes certain standard procedures, and medical ethics are followed and may serve as a liaison between the doctor and the patient or the patient's loved ones. Diba? Being with constant interaction with the patient, nurses are ideally positioned to be advocates. No? A successful advocacy for the patient makes their works promote the health process. No? Yan naman yung ating primary role, health promotion. Section 28 of the Republic Act 9173, the Philippine Nursing Act of 2002, that we are hoping, no, to be amended or to have a new phase, no, coming soon, hopefully, no, kasi tapos na yan sa lower Congress with the House Bill 9389. Ano, ang ganda-ganda po ng House Bill 9389 because it will balance the salary between private and public. It will remove job orders, contractuals na napakatagal na nating nilalabanan. Ano po? And hopefully po ay maipasa din yan sa Senado para po tuloy-tuloy yung bagong muka, no, that will cover the rights and welfare of our Filipino nurses. No, going back Nurses are primarily responsible for the promotion and health and prevention of illness, sabi sa Republic Act 9173, Section 28. As members of the health team, nurses shall collaborate with other healthcare providers for the curative, preventive, and rehabilitative aspects of care, restoration of health, alleviation of suffering, and when they recover, and when recovery is not possible, towards a peaceful death, no, a dignified death. RA 9173 mandates that nurses should observe the code of ethics for nurses and always uphold the standard of safe nursing practice. Okay. Article 2, Section 5 also uphold the rights of an individual rights, considering the individuality of patients in giving care. Diba? Meron din sa Article 3, Section 7 of the law to lay down the scope of nursing practice. No, guidelines are being provided, or guidelines are provided in our law with regards to how nurses should act. No, respecting the patient's bill of rights, providing patients or their families with all pertinent information, etc. Ano po? So lahat na dapat ginagawa natin to protect our patients and be advocate of them ay nakalagay po diyan. Sabi nga sa Code of Ethics of for Filipino nurses, ano, no, through the PR Bond Resolution 2020-04, yan. So sabi niya dyan sa Article 3, Section 8, that it provides that registered nurses are the advocates of patients. No? So parte po yan ng ating responsibilidad. So ethically, we should protect our patient. No? So they shall take appropriate steps to safeguard their rights and privileges. So ngayon po, ngayong pandemic, how would nurses do that? No, lalo na kapag mahaba ang pila sa emergency room, lalo na kapag iba nandiyan yung sino ba yung ipa-prioritize, etc. No, so yeah, there are a lot of problems confronting nurses now in the hospitals, and this code of ethics will guide them on how to do it, or solve the problem properly, no, and ethically. Okay? So responsibility, it's all about responsibility and accountability. Yung policy, yung ethics, and advocacy, no, ay isang responsibility, and at the same time, it's an accountability. Responsibility because nurses are responsible of their own actions as professionals, no? And nurses are responsible to understand the scope of their practice, duties, and their role, refusing to undertake activities outside scope of practice, no? That will ensure patient safety and the delivery of quality of care. We are all accountable, no, to report any behavior that endangers client safety, provide clients with adequate information about their care, maintain high ethical standards of our own practice, and follow policies and guidelines of our employer to ensure the delivery of safe nursing care. So those responsibility, yung policy, ethics, advocacy is both a responsibility and accountability that will ensure patient safety and the delivery of care. The nurse's role as caretaker and protector of patient is a cornerstone of nursing ethics. And every nurse works at some level to improve patient care and ensure patient needs are being met. So, who are nurses legally, ethically, and professionally responsible to? Themselves. Diba? Yan. So sa sarili natin, sa ating employer, and to the nursing profession. Nursing advocacy is the practice of promoting patients' rights, making improvements in healthcare industry, and portraying positive image of the nursing community. Advocacy is a pillar of nursing. Nurses instinctively advocate for their patient in their workplace and in their community. Nursing advocates have a powerful voice in the formations of healthcare policy. Ito po yung sinasabi natin kanina. We need political advocacy, no? Para po labanan rather, to uphold the rights and welfare of every Filipino nurses. Kasi lagi po naman lagi po tayong kausap ng different government agencies. No? We are being parang informed to some of those policies. No? Hinihingan tayo ng opinion. But then, it seems like they are not hearing us. Diba? Yan. So we need to push for political advocacy at this time. Lalo na that the pandemic espoused and exposed how important nurses is. And the bad thing about it, pandemic exposed of how people in the government see the worth of nurses. Yeah. So to achieve this end, some advocates becomes involved in political action, lending an insider's view of the industry and pointing those areas that needs to be changed. Others stays within the nursing community and serve as teachers, conducting conferences and seminars for their fellow nurses on ways to improve nursing practice. Legislative and political advocacy in the arena of healthcare are very important, and nurses who lend their voices can shape the future of healthcare. No, to some country po that promotes yung importance of nurses doon sa kanilang IATM. Siyempre iba ang tawag nila. No, to some level they have a nurse, a nurse leader. Kasi other countries has this chief nursing officer, di ba? That recommends, give the opinions and ideas on how to fight this COVID-19. And those countries who do that are champions in their battle against COVID-19. So sana sa atin ganun din. Okay? How can we advocate for the future of healthcare naman? Why do we have to think about it now? Siyempre, a COVID-free future, di ba, ang gusto natin. Kidding aside, this is how the ICN, the International Council of Nursing, describes the future of healthcare and how nurses will be a vital or key player towards achieving the best for the people's health. Di ba? Ang dami-dami po nating na-experience na yung COVID-19 at kung hindi po natin ito magagamit for the future, for in making policies, guidelines, etc., to be prepared on the next maybe na same situations, health crisis, magiging matagumpay tayo doon sa magiging actions natin in the future. Kaya po the ICN recommends that we should transform, do a transformations to healthcare and nursing solution. To achieve these visions for the healthcare, as advocate, we need to help address the inequalities and some social determinants of health, the fractured relationship between health and other sectors, and the view that health is the sole responsibility of health professionals. Nurses must be actively involved and engaged in creating a healthy community. As a member of the professions with the broadest understanding of the individual and their health needs, nurses are vital to the effort to address the various aspects of enabling as members of the professions with the broadest understanding of the individual and their health needs, nurses are vital to the efforts to address the various aspects of enabling health and building healthier communities. Diba? Kaya nga sabi nila, diba? Nurses are vital in achieving the universal health care. Indeed, diba? Because we believe that an investment for economic and community prosperity, we need to adhere with the universal health coverage. And to achieve universal health care, we should invest in manpower. Now, the government should invest in manpower because an investment to nursing and other healthcare workers' manpower is an investment to people's health. ICN recommends the following as a nursing solution. A country should have a government chief nurses, and they should need to be involved in national health decision making. 42% making policies, in which binigay nilang example, 42% do have CNO and the rest do not have, including the Philippines. So sabi nila may mga CNO daw yung different countries, no? And for example, Bermuda has a chief nursing officer and has been an active of the country's emergency measures organizations. To that effect, Bermuda's response has been effective against COVID-19 crisis, no? And ICN also recommends, sa policy making to have a specialized nurses in infection prevention and control, that will be involved in decision making teams and government policies related to COVID-19 para may nursing perspective sana sa IAPF, 'di ba? Expert ang nandun, doctors, nurses, para may iba't ibang perspektibo ng mga healthcare workers, no? Have a senior nurse leader been included and effectively utilized in higher level decision making. Kaya nga naman, we in PNA are happy with the turnouts of events that recognition is being given to us. Minsan nga lang, like PRC recognizing our proposals and recommendations to hold and continue the board exam. DOH working hand in hand with us now regarding the motion and many more. So that's the policy we are talking about. Nurses are vital in achieving universal healthcare. Indeed, we must adhere in achieving universal healthcare law. Remember that the health of communities directly affects the wealth of the nation. Kaya naman po, the government is trying their best to somehow address problems to achieve the dreams of our own universal healthcare law. Ang tanong, sapat ba yung best? They are doing their best. Pero ang tanong po, sapat ba yung best? Because universal healthcare laws involves investment in manpower, meaning more opportunities for nurses and other healthcare workers, more plantilla position because it is what the future of healthcare requires, bringing health into the doorstep of the people. Huwag nga lang po sanang daanin sa job order, and contractual. I see and firmly believe that the vision for future healthcare is that health and the economy are viewed as inextricably linked. This means that governments, policymakers, and health systems reevaluate their priorities, accountabilities, and performance to ensure pandemic preparedness, effective vaccination distribution, improved population health, and access to care to support a post-COVID-19 economic recovery. Universal healthcare must be an investment. And this means investment in the health workforce or investing in the health workforce, particularly nurses. We have to look into the possible effect of advocating for advanced nursing practitioner, no? Siyempre, policy pinag-uusapan natin, let's support advanced nursing practitioner. Di ba yung APN natin, ANP? No? Let's push forward in the having it on our new nursing bill na pinapa-approve, okay? And this will, di ba, pushing forward for this ANP, is a push for promotion and disease prevention for more safety Philippines. Like other countries who has it already, like Taiwan, the Ministry of Health and Welfare in Taiwan is promoting advanced practice nursing to improve access to healthcare and the meet of health needs of individuals and communities. There is further investment to create nurse practitioner in the areas of nurse anesthesia, community or primary healthcare. So, the changes, nasan ba yun? So the changes to healthcare delivery due to COVID-19 cannot be understated. The combination of lockdowns, quarantines, misinformations, infodemic, and the rest, yan, creates fear, a culture of fear that resulted in a dramatic transformation in the public's response to seek care when needed. Evidently, the use of telemedicine across the world has increased dramatically during the period of pandemic. So, paano ko inintindi yung telemedicine, considering ethics, di ba? Yeah, nurses across the world have been at the forefront of system transformation in an effort to provide quality, safe, accessible healthcare. Their call to duty has meant that despite the challenges set before them, They continued to treat and care for patients in extraordinary difficult situations. The innovations and advances in healthcare needed to be harnessed and remembered for future generations to build upon. Yeah. So we are living in an era of misinformations and information's overload, which is extremely harmful to our communities. This is cause harm to public health, no? And the response effort because false information erodes public trust in health workers, official health organizations, and governments that are leading the fight against COVID-19. Moving forward in restoring public health, public confidence, and trust requires concerted effort and a multitude of strategies. Poor health literacy leads to poorer health outcomes. We need rapid support, dissemination of evidence-based information to health professionals. So nurses, kung alam nating fake news, wag na nating i-share, di ba? Wag na nating i-distribute, no? So syempre, tayo being the advocates of health, dapat tayo yung nag-i-spread ng good news rather, fact news, no? Dapat always have this fact check, no? Kasi hindi siya healthy, no? Kawawa naman yung ating policymakers, yung ating government, no? Promoting health of people kapag may mga ganitong fake news, okay? Yeah. So before COVID-19, there was a significant challenges affecting yung mga persons with mga vulnerable persons, no, with numerous failures plaguing the system. One of the possible reasons for this is the valuing of older people. So the vision of the future healthcare must consider vulnerable populations also. So in policy, dapat it covers all, di ba? Holistic. Failure to do so will only exacerbate the barriers to healthcare faced by this population and widen health inequality. So let's not go deeper into that. No, importante, public health nurses. Dito tayo sa guardians of the public health. No, having been a key part of leadership during the current public health crisis, they have been rapidly deployed on mobile strikes and mga public health nurses. No, yeah, delivering health education, including self-isolation and quarantine, and monitoring health and well-being and responding as necessary. Kaya naman, salute to all our public health nurses or community health nurses out there. Okay. Advocacy also encompasses supporting nurses to leverage a better health system. What does this mean? This report refers to the support being given to nurses in protecting their rights and advancing their welfare. Nursing organizations around the world have played a critical role in highlighting these issues, advocating for change with policymakers and health system leaders. In addition to their advocacy role and representing the nursing profession, nursing organizations have been instrumental in supporting nurses with professional practice standards, personal and professional development opportunities for networking and collaboration, emotional and psychological support, and many other essential functions. Kaya naman, PNA on its 99th year, 99th year of existence is trying its best to amplify the voice of every nurses to plead for nurses' rights and what is due for nurses, leading the nursing profession in nursing, the nursing profession in healthcare related issues, in nursing and healthcare related issues concerning us. The calls for action by the ICN or the International Council for Nursing for nurses is an investment in nursing, ensuring nurses have a seat at the decision-making table, improving the education of the profession, and building and retaining the nursing workforce are now being echoed by international organizations and leaders throughout the world. Kaya naman tayo push din dapat dito. Like what Dr. Tedros said, no country, hospitals, or clinic can keep its patients safe unless it keeps its health workers safe. Tama naman, di ba? All this time, with COVID-19 risk, nurses were required to work under conditions that pose substantial and inadequately understood risk to their overall health and well-being. COVID and the response from many countries and health system has required that nurses jeopardizes their own safety and that of their loved ones in order to provide care. Looking at the future, we must be prepared always for any health crisis. A good preparation can protect nurses and other health workers who put their lives on the line for their fellow human beings. No? So, yun lang naman sinasabi natin na dapat may natutunan na tayo all this ilan na pa, more than a year, no? Almost 2 years na nandito tayo at lumalaban sa COVID-19, dapat may matutunan na tayo. And yung mga matututunan natin na yan, dapat magamit natin for policy making, no? Para sa susunod, we are prepared, no? Sa mga ganitong klase, no, ng health crisis, no? Professional nursing has been a major driver of improvements to patient care. Indeed, di ba? Effective health policy and efficient business models. Nurses are at the front of care, working on the front lines, undertaking vital roles, di ba? So according to the WHO, in early 2020, one of the main findings was the estimated shortfall of 6 million nurses. Yeah, nawala siya. Despite years of calling for greater investment in nursing, historical inadequate workforce planning, lack of policies or weak implementation, fragmented responsibilities, and a lack of political leadership have all contributed to healthcare workforce crisis. Diba? Prior to COVID-19, workforce shortages were the biggest issue facing the healthcare delivery. So, short staffing, how do we deal with this? No? In the Philippines, we have been crying out loud for these problems. Actually, not with the lack of manpower, but the problem that contributes to it. Compensation, benefits, value, and the respect that we deserve. No? Hindi yan maiiba. May COVID o wala. Yan pa rin yung pinakang main problem ng nursing. Sabi nga ni Mark Britnell, how can people deliver compassionate care if they are not cared for too? Kailangan po nilang alagaan ang ating mga nurses, ang ating mga Filipino nurses. Kaya po patuloy po nating itataguyod ang adhikain ng PNA na ipaglaban ang bawat karapatan ng ating mga nurses saan man tayo dalhin ng pagkakataon, kwento, at saan man tayo dalhin ng pagkakataon. yung kodigo ko nakalagay, kwento ang demotion. I'm sorry. No? So, kaya nga po kahapon I asked the different PNA chapter presidents on our group chat. Pwede po ba nating alamin, no? Ilan po bang mga nurses natin ngayon ang nagsasuffer pa rin with this demotion due to the infamous DBM Circular 2020-4? Ano po, ilan po ba dyan ang nagsasuffer dyan? Let us know kasi isusulat po natin yan sa mga kinauukulan with the data kasi lagi nilang sinasabi sa atin, if we have no data, that will remain a mere hearsay. So let nurses give us data. Ilan po ba kayo? Anong hospital po ba yan? Diba? Ilan nurses ang affected from nurse 1, nurse 2, ginawang nurse 1? At ano po bang plano ng mga administrator ng hospitals at ng LGU? No? Yan, dapat malaman natin kung anong plano nila. Because we have now the guidelines. DBM Circular 2021-2 overturns that decision. Kaya po, sulong po natin yan to our honorable and respectable politicians, di ba? Yan. Kayo po ay sumumpa sa inyong tungkulin. Kaya naman po, meron na pong DBM 2021-2. Pakisunod naman po para po sa ating mga Filipino nurses. No? Bakit ba? No. Live tayo, so marami nakakarinig sa atin. So, doon po sa mga nurses, PME, send PNA your data para po may paglaban natin yung kwento ng demotion na yan. The pandemic has overwhelmed many countries, hospitals, and health system, highlighted gaps in the health workforce. As a result, workforce dynamics rapidly transform in order to meet the demand. Despite the undeniable negative impacts, this unprecedented event also presents an opportunity to reimagine and reshape the nursing. There is a need to advocate for advanced nursing practitioner. Sabi nga natin kanina, all nurses benefit from advancing in nursing profession, and as a result, it amplifies nursing voice and visibility within healthcare system worldwide. Nursing is well poised to promote best practices and standards of care for the future. Currently, there are a lot of talks ongoing with the PR Bond, Board of Nursing, and the Technical Working Group and other concerned agencies, lalo na po yung mga samahan ng mga doktor natin kasi meron silang kina-clarify about that ANP. So, if policy ang pinag-uusapan natin, let's look into that and support that advocacy. While the COVID-19 pandemic has rapidly shifted has rapidly shifted how students are learning. It has also exposed existing gaps in what they should be learning. Clearer than ever before are the fault lines in our own health and social system and the inequities that exist in the world. Health system redesign is urgently needed to meet the challenges for the future. Achieve universal health care, be resilient in the face of crisis, and meet the health and social needs of population. Ito naman po para sa education, di ba? Nursing education will also require shifting to optimize the role. Yung advocacy po, holistic po yan. Yung policy, ethics, holistic po yan. Kaya naman, we should also advocate nursing education. All levels of nursing education, including continuous professional development, will need to respond quickly to prepare nurses to both contribute to the progressive health system, strengthening leadership, decision-making roles to deliver healthcare that is aligned with these priorities. Curricula will need to adapt to increase the preparation of nurses to work outside of acute care settings, having a stronger focus on community health and delivery, collaborative, multidisciplinary, team-based care. O collaboration is necessary. Kahit po sa policy making, kailangan may kakampi. ICN President Kennedy is right. Nurses serve humanity, and by their actions, they protect the health and well-being of individuals, communities, and nation. Ergo, we must be the voice to lead and be the catalyst for change for the future of healthcare. Because nurses are central to the design of health system that focuses on public health, prevention, and primary care. Nurses help people to adjust the way they live so that they can enjoy long, happy, and healthy lives. They help individuals and families at the heart. They have the individuals and their families at the heart of what they do, and that will never change. But the pandemic required innovative approaches to nursing care, including the use of technology to aid from a distance. Nurses have been involved in finding innovations or innovative ways to integrate technology into practice in a way that maintains safety and people-centered holistic care. Florence Nightingale is indeed right too, that nurses are the frontliners in ensuring access and equity to healthcare. Our vision for future healthcare includes health systems that are sustainable, equitable, ethically based, and fit for the future. For our vision to become reality, we need government to invest in people-centered healthcare that reaffirms genuine values of nurses and respects human dignity. A people-centered, compassionate care in the health workforce and in nursing education. In our vision of future healthcare, the nursing profession is actively involved, engaged, and at the heart of the health system decision-making. Kaya naman, let's speak up. Fight for our rights, unite and act together because there is strength in number. Together, everyone accomplishes more. Mas importante po yung maraming boses, no? Mas maraming boses kesa sa isang nurses na sigaw ng sigaw. Diba? Yan. So, dapat po magtulungan tayo because wala naman pong gagawa niyan kung hindi tayo lang din. Be the change leader that the future needs, someone that enables change, an empowered nurse that can inspire people to think or act differently. Maintaining positive image for nurses is another key part of nursing advocacy. We also need to raise the profile of nursing, diba? This entails making certain those in the nursing professions are portrayed properly in the media. Nursing advocates may be called upon to take on the film and television industry in an attempt to enhance the reputations of nurses and the respectability of the vocation. Di ba yung film nga, yung tililing, di ba? Tapos yung mga modules sa DepEd, nilabanan natin yan. Kahit ang sinasabi ng iba, maging ng mga kasamahan natin, napaka-sensitive naman ng PNA. No, why? It's not being sensitive, no? We need to condemn those acts because pag hinayaan natin, hinahayaan din natin na bumaba ang tingin sa atin, no, ng sambayanan. Hindi po pwede na ganun yon. Okay? Public understanding of nursing varies widely and is often distorted. The fact is that very few people understand the breadth of roles and responsibilities of modern nurses, and that means they do not deeply appreciate the outstanding value of nursing. Kaya po, advocacy is part of the daily practice of nurses. As an advocate, it means that nurses You got to stand your ground even when it isn't easy. Yan. Kahit hindi po madali. Why? Because there was a saying nga, di ba, that we need to make the positive so loud that negative becomes almost impossible to bear. Indeed, advocacy is nurses' professional responsibility. Let me share you po, no, kung ano yung gustong sabihin ng mga bata sa atin. Yan. In terms of making a difference. Yeah. Tingnan natin. Meron po akong song na nakita dito kasi na I'm always sharing it. How to make a difference.
We begin bright and early to go to one place where we look back to special days. We depend on each other and learn as we listen. In this place, we're gonna make things happen. As we gather here today, we make a pledge to serve others, to be the best. Let nothing bring us down. Always say we can. Let the whole world know we're gonna make things happen. When the future comes around, we'll turn and see the promise in one's eyes and say there's more that can be. We'll welcome that day, but until then, the future's in our hands and we're gonna make things happen. As we gather here today, we make a pledge to serve others, to be the best. Let nothing bring us down. Always say we can. As we gather here today, we make a pledge to serve others, to be the best. Let nothing bring us down. Always say we can. Let the whole world know we're gonna make things happen. Let the whole world know we're gonna make things happen.
Yan, the future in nursing, the future of nursing, the future of the nursing profession is bright. No, especially if those nurses who will go into policy making, into policy advocacy, no, will make things happen. Sabi nung kanta, let's unite, depend on each other. Anything, anybody, no, who will be parang anything or anybody who will promote divisiveness, hindi natin kailangan yan. Let's act together. Let us know, no? Let the world knows that nurses make things happen, no? Let's create change, no? And make a difference because nurses depend on us, specifically for us who are in the policy making, no? Yeah, and ethically for nurses, let's not do things that divide nursing. Diba? Sama-sama tayo sa laban na to because yeah, we need one another, no? To be the source of strength, no, in fighting for the rights and welfare of Filipino nurses. Yan. So, with that po, maraming salamat po for the opportunity na ibinigay niyo sa akin, Sir Janus, and magandang umaga po sa lahat.
All right. So thank you once again for that inspiring talk. Indeed, we can make things happen. On motivating our nurses to become keys to the Philippines achieving our SDGs, on how our profession can be instruments in repairing the healthcare system in our country, and for reminding us that in the heart of this vocation is advocacy, from bedside to even leadership, and even that of policy making. Our PNA National President, Mr. Melbert Reyes. I'm sure our nursing community appreciates you so much for being a part of this momentous occasion. And now we moved to our accomplished resource speakers. We have two resource speakers that we are expecting this morning. May I call on Ms. Vilma Sabiniano Vasquez, Professor of Nursing at Far Eastern University, to introduce us to our first resource speaker. Ma'am Vilma.
Good morning, everyone. Our resource speaker is a nurse by profession. She is currently the president and CEO of Community Health Education Emergency Rescue Services Corporation, which provides training on emergency medical services conforming to the international standards on health and safety. Her awards and contributions are highly regarded both in the local and international arena. She is a former program coordinator of the Commission on Higher Education's National Service Training Program, and also sat as a member of the Curriculum Development Expert Panel on Disaster Preparedness of the Department of Health. She earned her diploma in Food Safety Management, focus on food technology and processing from the University of the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to introduce to you our resource speaker, Commissioner Sandra S. Montano.
Thank you so much for the very generous introduction, Dr. Vilma Sibiano Vasquez. Okay, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. I'm so happy, having this kind of platform that we have right now makes my heart grow fonder because as part of the government right now, I can hear you, our president, PNA President, Dr. Melbert Reyes. Okay, I heard everything that you've said, and I definitely 100% agree in everything that you spouses in Philippine Nurses Association. To our President of Philippine Women's University, okay, good morning. To Dr. David De Jesus, to all the guests and all the students and our virtual Zoom, Facebook audience that we have here right now. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And I've heard we also have some students from Indonesia that greeted me last night. That's Andu from Stikis Budiluhur, and we also have from we have students from China or Chinese students. Okay, a pleasant morning and a happy weekend to all of you. First and foremost, I would like to just say something about my personal journey as a nurse. I'm a nurse by profession. I graduated 1994. I work as a faculty with New Era University and also with Kester Grant College. I work also as in St. Luke's Hospital and in Veterans Memorial Medical Center. And I'm so proud to say that I am my best effort in nursing is more on community health nurse because I am a survivor of a 1990 killer earthquake in Baguio City when I was a nursing student in St. Louis University, and then I've transferred to Manila. That's where I finished my nursing career. So I'm so happy to really be back. I'm one of the students of Philippine Women's University. And I also have my eldest son is a nurse by profession. He's working right now with the Department of Health in the Bureau of Quarantine as one of the frontliners. So this topic that we have today is very close and near to my heart. I sleep with it, I eat with it because I have a frontliner with me that sometimes I would like to hug my son. But because of this virus that he may be contracting from work after 2 weeks of deployment. So I have to buy this PPE, and then I will cover him with the PPE, and then I also wear my PPE, and then we hug each other. So those are the things that we have to sacrifice in this COVID-19 pandemic. And I would also like to share to you some responsibilities that I have with me right now as a chairperson. Before 2019, I was appointed by President Rodrigo Roa Duterte as the Commissioner for Science and Health, representing all of us. So the healthcare industry, the safety, the health, the nurses, the midwife, the doctors. And then last year, when the pandemic has this impact already, the president is looking for a person who could lead the Philippine Commission on Women towards this greater height when it comes to this health crisis. And July of last year, 2020, I was appointed as the new chairperson. So I asked the office of the president, hindi po ba kayo nasisipagan sa akin? Do you find me stagnant or not industrious enough that you even made me or appoint me as a chairperson? And then Secretary Anyo of the LG told us that, you know, we need to find a young person who understands what's happening on the ground, especially that one of the most vulnerable sector that we have right now are the women and children. And one of the frontliners that we can see in the healthcare center, in the community, in the hospitals, in all facets of the recovery of this pandemic is the women and the healthcare frontliners. And this calls for nurses. So I'm so happy to be bringing on another responsibility on my shoulder, that not just a mother or a nurse by profession, but also as a mother, as a sister, as an auntie, as a colleague of each and every one of us. So this topic is very nice that we could talk about this matter right now. And I would like to tell you that one of the programs or mandates of the Philippine Commission on Women is number one, we are the policy makers when it comes to women empowerment, advancement of the career, the responsibilities and the economic empowerment of women and girls, and also the gender equality, wherein LGBTQIA is also one of the mandate that we put in trust on the gender sensitivity and so on and so forth. And in the when I sit as a chairperson of the Philippine Commission on Women, I thought that haya-haya ang buhay. I mean, I'll just be delivering some speeches. I'll just be monitoring some gender and development programs in the different local government agency and government agency. Hindi pala ganon. It's not that easy. It's not a walk in the park, because I also sit as the permanent representative to APEC on PPWE, which is, we call it the Policy Partnership on Women and Economy. So I am also the permanent representative of the Philippines for the United Nations. And last March, I delivered a United Nations Commission Status of Women, wherein we are espousing that more legislators should be women. We encourage more women to join in the policy making and to join in the election. So in the different part of our government industry. And also I sit as the permanent representative for the ASEAN Ministerial Women, wherein we discuss all work on the government and the private sector, on the MSME, and so on and so forth. So I think I have, in my position, I have 16 international, I'm representing 16 international organizations on behalf of our country. So all those things that I have with me, but I would say that one of the most sweetest thing that I would like when they introduce me is I am a nurse by profession. Okay, so before I start my presentation, I would like please to share my screen and show let's show first the video, which is recently recently showed up in the Facebook of the government. Okay, who's in charge? Can you please share my screen? If we can share the video. Hello, hello. True that it's a very hard days that we have right now. It's very challenging things that we have right now at the current pandemic. Okay, so we have video before my presentation. Can we show the video first? Thank you. To announce also that we hope and we are crossing our fingers that we'll be having one of the policymakers with an after the election next year. Okay, with the entry of Dr. Carl Balita in the Senate. So let's support him. And thank you, Dr. Janos, for inviting me and PWU family. Okay, can we show the video? Maybe we can show later. Okay. The current pandemic crisis has drawn significant attention to frontline healthcare workers, where nurses hold a significant majority. So, according to the different news and different countries that really acknowledge and give the highest accord for nurses, if nurses would go on rally, the healthcare system would collapse. So I think you all agree with that words that other countries, especially in UK and US, is giving us. So coincidentally, the World Health Organization has also declared 2020 to be the International Year of the Nurse and the Midwife. As nurses, we are currently at the center stage. So imagine being at the center stage, but on the behind the scene, we are in pain. We would like to get our salary, our risk allowances, and so on and so forth. So at the time when our professional and ethical conduct is gaining attention, what do ethical guidelines and codes of ethics have to offer to nurses? So are we going to improve, advance, or maybe work on some updates so we could put on some policies, lagyan ng mas matinding ngipin ang ating mga polisiya, okay? And as a profession and discipline, nursing espouses certain ethical values and policies and guidelines that aim to provide a moral compass. We can say that the ethical practice that we have is our moral compass, and the policies that our government, that we follow are these are the parameters that we have to walk on through as we practice our profession. In this discussion, I will aim to address some of the significant issues that nurses have brought forward during the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, such as safety, increased workloads, and increased exposure to patient mortality, at all of which can lead to moral distress and burnout. I will also try to demonstrate how our nursing ethics can support our nursing practice and professional conduct in this uncertain and transient healthcare climate. So this is already the new normal. So we hope and pray that in the near future we can be back to a place wherein we don't wear masks, we don't wear face shield. But if in case that will not come too soon, then nurses are here to stay, and nurses are always here to make sure that the healthcare industry is revolving. Okay, so again, I'm Sandy Montano. I'm a nurse by profession. At the same time, I am the chairperson of the Philippine Commission on Women. This is under the Office of the President. My office is Malacanang. That's why when I'm listening to Dr. Melbert Reyes, I could feel you. I would like to invite our nursing leaders, any one of you who are here right now, to write me. And if there are policy that we can make together, okay, visit me in my office in Malacanang so we could present this to the DBM, to the Department of Health, to Senate and Congress, wherein I sit as the permanent representative. Every time that we have this women priority legislative agenda, that we have to let them listen, to let them hear, to let them feel that we are here and we can be their allies. They can be our partners, okay? So every part of nursing practice has ethical implications. We are making ethical decisions when prioritizing care and resources among patients and practicing our clinical skills with competence. So, katulad nga po kanina ng sinabi ni Dr. Reyes, ng ating PNA President, at every time that we have to make a decision, every time that we have to put on that syringe, every time that we have to do that CPR, every time that we have to do this advanced cardiovascular life support, we have this ethical or moral compass that we have in our mind, wherein who will be my priority, what will I do next. That's why, nursing is a very noble profession. We were educated in order to save lives, and at the same time, we have to maintain our moral dignity and value in order for us not to be questioned on our legal practice. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the COVID-19 has created a very complicated moral dilemmas for many nurses. Okay, this is the time where you have to juggle from work, the family, to your loved ones, to the community, and at the same time, during the early days of the COVID-19, where there's a lockdown, we are the profession that they can count on, that they rely on, but we are also these are the people, the nurses are the people that they would like to be isolated, not to be part of the community, because they have this thinking that we are the carrier of the virus, of the diseases, and sometimes there's a lot of news na sinabuyan pa ng parang mga kung ano yan, yung mga muriatic acid and so on and so forth, because parang ang tingin nila sa atin, tayo yung mga monster that carrying the virus, where in fact we are the healer. We are here to be part of to make the healthcare system strong. So the current pandemic crisis has drawn significant attention to frontline healthcare workers, where nurses hold a significant majority. According to APEC, the Asian and the UN Women, majority, if not 76% of nurses or healthcare providers in the COVID-19 industry right now are the nurses and the midwives. Okay, coincidentally, the World Health Organization has also declared, yes, we have declared 2020 as the International Year of the Nurses and the Midwife. And we're so happy. So after that declaration, then comes the lockdown. Wow, parang di ba, parang what year to celebrate our practice, and what a year to really put on the highest level our nursing practice, our ethical, and the policies that we have in our heart. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so of course, as we know that Florence Nightingale, our mother for nurses, is historically bring compassionate, competent care to disaster response. Okay, so I have told you a while ago that my background is on the pre-hospital care. That's why I founded Cheers Community Health Education Emergency Rescue Services. Okay, because these are the places wherein we really need nurses. Okay, frontliner. These are the disaster responses. Okay, but we are challenged to provide care when the nature of their work puts them at an increased risk. Okay, but what we can do now, if we nurses, if the frontliners are also at risk, health risk, nurses struggle with feeling physically unsafe in the response situation, such as in times of scarce resources where supplies, such as items as the personal protective equipment or the PPE, may be inadequate. So if you can, okay, for all those Filipino that listen right now, there's this Blue Ribbon Committee that they are questioning about the prices of the PPE, about the procurement process and everything. Okay, I have to give you my 5 cents of inputs. Okay, you know, during those times of scarcity of resources, okay, I think if the alcohol on a regular purchase, you can buy it at 60 pesos per 1 liter, something like that. But because of scarcity of resources, everybody wants this alcohol for their hand washing, to keep them safe, to keep them sanitized and healthy. And it would price like 200 pesos or 500 pesos. Would you buy that alcohol, or would you wait for the time to normalize the price? Or would you buy the PPE that would save you from getting the dreaded virus? Or would you just wait for the time to normalize and there will be more PPE, or there will be more items, supplies, medical supplies in the market? So that is a question that I have with you right now. So, and again, so when we talk about ethical or moral compass, I'd rather buy that price for my family, for myself to be protected, than wait for the time wherein we will have the viruses or the disease, that it would make us more vulnerable, and it would even take our life. So yun po yung mga ano natin, that's the balancing act. That's why ethical issues is very important. Okay, nurses are concerned about professional, ethical, and legal protection when asked to provide care in such high-risk situations, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. We don't just go to your duty, to your regular work, without bringing your profession, without bringing the ethical or moral compass that you have, and the legal protection in case you commit something wrong, or at the course of your journey, at the course of your duty, you were able to deliberately wasn't able to do this procedure, or you did it the wrong way. So that is the legal protection. So ang dami, no? Ang daming parameters that we have to consider being a nurse, and going every time in your duty in a COVID-19 pandemic, or in a ward, or in a health facility, or in sa ating mga quarantine facility. Okay, next please. So these are the significant ethical issues that nurses have brought forward during the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, I couldn't remember when our time, siguro magkaka-age group tayo, no? Dr. David and other participants here, parang anak na natin yung ibang mga nandito, as if you are our daughters and sons. Okay, during our time, okay, I think during our time, one of the challenges that we have is the disaster, the natural calamities, the fire, and so on and so forth. So we go home very exhausted, very tired, but life must go on. But with the COVID-19, there's a lot of things to put in mind every time that you go to your duty, and every time you go home back to your family. There's a lot of stories, there's a lot of cuento that we can relate on. So one of those cuento that I have is in my family. So my son, whenever he arrives after 1 week of duty, before last year it's 2 weeks in Philippine Arena, or 2 weeks in the airports, and then he would stay with us for 2 weeks, because we have senior citizen in the house, within the compound, we have small children. So sometimes he has to stay in one condominium. We have to rent a condo for him until such time that we think that he's already safe. Okay, there's a lot of sacrifices, but these are behind the scenes. So safety is one of the issues that we have to check. Okay, safety in the workplace, safety at home with your loved one, with your community. And one of the issues that we also have is the increased workloads. Before, we used to enjoy an 8-hour or 12-hour shift duty. Now it's no longer, because the moment you go out, you are exposing yourself and your family and the people you're surrounded with the virus that you may be carrying, even though you have this negative result. So instead of the 8 or 12 hours or 24 hours duty, they propose, the IET proposed, and even the World Health Organization proposed that there should be 1 week or 2 weeks duty and then 2 weeks off. Okay. And also the increased exposure to patient mortality. Because you can really see the sacrifices of our nurses every time that they would don in their PPE. Some of them, they even wear diapers because, during the time that you're in the course of your duty, you cannot even go for a toilet break. You cannot even, sometimes I could see them when I do my rounds with the IETF. Okay. By the way, I'm one of the second line of the IETF, but I am assigned with the MSME on the mask para sa masa ng Pangulo. Okay, so we're helping the mananahi, the MSME community, to make a 3-ply reusable mask. And at the same time, I'm part of the COVID-19 core group of the DLG. So wherein we do this, a lot of meeting and a lot of collaboration. But, at the end of the day, it's still, we are working on how to protect the patient and how to protect our healthcare frontliners. So there's a lot of exposure to patient mortality. Sometimes because we are so overworked and we are so burdened, they are having some mental stress and illnesses. So all of which can lead to moral distress, burnout. So have you experienced this one, or somebody else in your family, in your friends, in your loved ones, in your circle, in your network? Yes, majority. Actually, even nga yung mga nasa bahay lang, di ba? All those people at home, they felt so, there's a lot of anxiety, fear of the unknown. There's a lot of mental illness. There's a lot of problem they're having right now. Pero nasa bahay lang sila, di ba? Pero sa atin, the nurses are the frontliners. At the same time, we experience the same burnout, the same anxiety, and the same moral distress that the ordinary people are experiencing right now. Okay, next slide, please. So one of the cross references that I was able to have are the 5 code of ethics for nursing during pandemics. Okay, so I discussed first the ethics and then later on the our policies. Okay, next, please. Okay, so one of the ethics that we can see and most important are the values, responsibilities, and concern. We require strong. Being a nurse, we need a strong ethical decision-making skills to promote safe, compassionate, competent, and patient-centered care. You don't go to your nursing ward if you are not competent. That's why napaka-importante po sa atin, di ba? Ano yung ating line of specialization? Ano yung ating line? ICU ka ba? ER ka ba? OR ka ba? Or community health? Or doon ka ba sa sa pediatrics? Sa OB ka ba? So those are the facets of nursing field of practice. So we don't just say that I'm a new nurse, I would like to be in ICU right away. So there's a lot of what do we call this, experience that we have to put on our shoulder, to put on our hands and in our mind, especially in our heart, whenever we talk about our patient-centered care. Throughout this pandemic, nurses have raised valid concern about safety, the increased workload, the increased patient mortality, all of which can lead to moral distress. Okay, they also share the pandemic experiences openly using various media platforms. Increasing ethical concern coupled with growing public attention mandate a heightened ethical awareness among nurses. One of the things that I cross upon on social media is the nurse from Iloilo. I forgot his name. So parang continuous siya na nag-work, nag-duty, and then nung nakaramdam siya ng ng signs and symptoms, when he was able to develop some of the signs and symptoms of the COVID-19. So he was asked to isolate. He was asked to stay in his flat. That I think that's in UK. And then suddenly afterwards, they could no longer was able to talk to him. So he died alone. Those are the bittersweet that we have in our practice. And with all these things that's happening right now, it's so ironic that us as carers, as caregivers, as nurses, as frontliners, pag tayo nang nagkaroon ng sakit, we really mourn those unsung heroes, and we really mourn those families that have this high hopes. Yung mga young nurses nila in the family would give them a greener pasture, but because of the COVID-19, it was a different scenario. Yung unang nurse na namatay, and I really vividly remember, it's very young, almost 20 plus lang, di ba? So those are the things that it's in our plate right now. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, can you please give me my next slide? Next slide, please. Okay, hello. Okay. I cannot see my number 2 slide, but the number 2 is the public attention and trust. Okay, so I hope I don't bore you this morning, because the things that we are discussing right now is very significant and important to our practice. Okay, so public attention and trust nurses are also using various media platforms, okay, including the social media to share their personal experiences. I believe this represents our need to debrief and make sense of our experiences. Inevitably, these reflections draw the attention of the public and reflect on the whole nursing profession. Yes, it is our normal reaction that if we feel we need to distress, to say something, to debrief ourselves, okay, we put in our social media. Pagpasensya nyo na po kung minsan ang daming mga hashtag hugot ang mga nurses, because that's what they feel. That's what they have in their heart and in their mind. So let them be normal to express their disbelief, their parang sama ng loob. But it's one way of distressing themselves and one way of communicating to the government, to the private sector, to the industry, that they would like their service and their social media words or message to share to. Okay, so don't bash them. Okay, so that's number 2. Okay, and number 3, we have the moral distress. Okay, most nurses will experience some level of moral distress during their careers. Okay, what do we mean by moral distress? Okay, morally, when you've started, you're so napaka natin, di ba? Idealistic natin. Okay, we know that nurses are the most noble profession in these times of calamity, disaster, and in this time of the global pandemic. And then as we go along, we could see in our eyes what's happening around us, ano yung pagkukulang ng government, ano yung pagkukulang ng ating community, ano yung dapat gawin, ano yung mga policy na dapat naka-imbibe sa ating practice, but we are not enjoying that, we are not seeing that, we are not experiencing that. That's why little by little our moral is bumababa siya. And then up to such time that you could no longer close your eyes, you could no longer decipher why is this happening, why we are being sacrificed, why there's a lot of nurses that fade away at namamatay. Kung pwede lang naman sana, kung sana ginawa ito. Those are the things that occur
All right, so it's actually most unfortunate that we are experiencing a few technical difficulties. Our sincerest apologies to our audience. So we do understand that even though the virtual spaces that we have right now keep us very much connected, unfortunately, it also has its disadvantages. It also has its gaps that we have to fill. All right, so I guess we can while waiting for Honorable Sandra Montano, um, Sandra Montano, may we ask, maybe we can have our question and answer portion first with our PNA President, Mr. Melbert Reyes. Would that be possible po? Question and answer. So it seems that it would be better if we have all of our speakers together during this time to have a very more colorful discussion. So let us call on first one of our classmates from the Philippine Women's University, Doctor of Philosophy and Nursing Program, Ms. Mariel Castillo Sevilla, to introduce one of the more prominent members of our class. To have a little talk about policy and ethics in nursing practice. Ma'am Mariel?
Okay, thank you, Sir Justin. So, for us to give his insight about our discussion this morning, let me introduce to you one of our guest speaker and the committee chair of this webinar. So, our guest speaker is the Director for Academics and Services and the Dean of Review of the biggest review center in the Philippines, ASEAN, Middle East, and Asia Pacific, Dr. Carl Balita Review Center. He leads the center's core processes, curriculum development, classroom, and online review delivery. He assures the company's vision and mission, producing more than 100,000 professionals and a long list of top-notchers. I'm a proud product of this review center. With his team leadership, CBRC continues to grow in enrollment and expansion, filling Philippine Arena in 2018 and 2019 with 125 local and international branches awarded as Super Brand 2018. So, PFA Hall of Famer 2019 and first ISO Certified Review Center in 2019, where he is a member of the Quality Circle and Auditors, proving CBRC excellence. At a young age, he is a registered nurse, a registered midwife, a licensed professional teacher, a board top-notcher, cum laude, dual master's holder, Master of Arts in Nursing, and Master in Business Administration. He finished his executive doctorate in education leadership and pursuing his second doctorate PhD in nursing at PWU. The third master degree, Master in Digital Marketing and E-Commerce. He was the finalist of 2012 10 Young Employees of Metro Manila, an ambassador for peace by World Confederation for World Peace and ambassador for Indigenous People. He is CBRC's Hall of Famer faculty, top-notcher of the decade, review icon, digital marketing expert, inspiration 2000s, 2020 Asian CEO Award 2020, Young Leader of the Year Circle, Excellence by the highest business award giving body in Asia Pacific, the Oscars of Philippine Business, Asia Pacific Luminaire Awards 2021, Educator and Young Leader of the Year, and 2021 Man's Meet Young Market Masters Awardee for Service Excellence. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to present Dr. John Oliver Janus de Leon.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mariel, and thank you so much for the team who is handling this webinar very, very effectively. Good morning, everyone. So let me just give you some glimpse of this while we continue the webinar sessions, and we'll talk about some policies and ethics in nursing during the pandemic. So let me just share to you some of the pandemic insights of the of of nursing and the policy and ethics that's within it as well. So basically, if we're going to talk about policies and ethics in nursing, Mr. Justin, can you hear me?
Yes, Sir Janus, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, so I hope you can see my slides right now because my screen is not moving. So basically, the American Nurses Association in 2015 has created, because we have international speakers here as well. So let me just focus on that on that clause about ethical standards and ethical dilemma of nurses during the pandemic before I give you to other speakers. So basically, the Code of Ethics for Nurses with interpretive statement in 2015 created that there are two provisions, and this ANA Code of Ethics for Nurses is actually our non-negotiable ethical standards. Okay, so that is our ethical standards. So it's all about what? It's all about two. Let's read two provisions in that Code of Ethics. Okay, so if we're going to talk about two provisions there, we are going to see two areas. Number one is that nurses owe the same duties to self as others. Okay, so basically the nurse's primary commitment is for the patients. Okay, sorry for the my slide's not moving well. So basically, coronavirus has affected all of us. And we have an update and it changed our lives, okay? People stay at home, offices, malls, and parks are empty, schools are empty, and masks and face shields become an inevitable part of our daily lives. Physical contact is avoided, hospitals are overwhelmed, and nurses and other health workers become heroes but are feared, as mentioned by Dr. Sandra Montano earlier. Then we entered the new normal. So then what are the different ethical dilemmas that we have during this pandemic? So as I've mentioned, our non-negotiable ethical practice standards came from the ANA Ethics Code of Ethics, which is being followed. So the first provision that I've mentioned to you, number one, is the nurse's primary commitment is to the patient safety. So basically, we need to save lives, and that's what we have given oath to. And the second provision, okay, that has conflict during this pandemic is that we nurses owe the same duty to ourselves, okay? Because we need to save ourselves first. We need to take care of ourselves first because we cannot take care of others, okay? If we don't do that. So let's talk about this nursing dilemma, okay? The nursing dilemma, okay, during this pandemic are the following. So basically, according to this Code of Ethics, it gives us guidance for nurses, and it gives us our response to this pandemic, okay? We must decide on how much quality care we can provide to others while also taking care of ourselves and our loved ones. Because if we go out there and we give every bit of care that we can, but if we risk ourselves and our family members, then we are also having some problems with it. And there are times that we as registered nurses must take a choice based on the moral grounds in order to maintain professional integrity. So the hospitals, institution, managers, administrators, and healthcare providers need to understand us, okay? Us, and we need to understand them as well about our expectations during this time of pandemic. So this dilemma, okay, we can choose not to respond according to the Code of Ethics if we are very vulnerable. Okay, if you feel unsafe in the response due to lack of personal protective equipments, and also mentioned that we need to be provided personal protective equipments, and also inadequate support for meetings, okay, and meeting our needs as nurses and personal and our family needs. And if we are concerned about our professional, ethical, and legal protection providing nursing care in the COVID-19 pandemic. So we need organizational support. Okay, we are responsible for our knowledge about the state law under which practice during this pandemic, but we also need to take care of ourselves. So as frontliners, healthcare professionals, we are key stakeholders in developing and implementing policies regarding standards of care during the COVID-19 pandemic. That's why Honorable Sandra Montano, Honorable Melbert, Honorable PNA President Melbert, okay, they have given us what they stand for, and we need to stand for ourselves as well. And our employers, the hospital and the nursing management, must have the responsibility to create, maintain, and provide practice in the environments that will meet the needs of us nurses as well as the medical community within the system that will protect both of us. And this should include the provision of sufficient, appropriate personal protective equipments, policies, immunization, physical security, operational protocols. Individual nurses are critical participants in their work first. So for my last message to all of you, we need to enable ourselves. We need to empower ourselves. And empowerment, we offer leadership to the world to influence others through our ethical dilemmas, through our policies, okay? And as nurses, we need to stand. We need to show our authority, our responsibility, and our own accountability for this profession. And we need to build ourselves, and we need to build and empower our area to create a better world. We need to adapt and empower ourselves, and we need to coexist and live with it. Thank you so much, and let us proceed to the next speakers.
All right, so thank you for that wonderful intermission, Sir Janos, for bridging that gap. And we're hoping that Honorable Sandra Montano will be able to catch up with us later. All right, so we are now actually going first with our second resource speaker. So as you know, guys, this is actually what happens even in our virtual spaces. It's not actually something that's bulletproof. So I would like to call on our dear classmate, Miss Maria Socorro Lanzar Castillo, to call a dear friend of hers from college, all the way from the USA, one of the prominent nurse leaders there. Ma'am Socorro.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. One of our resource speakers for this morning is a multi-awarded nurse leader. She graduated from her bachelor's degree in nursing at Colegio de San Agustin, Bacolod City in 1980. From 1987 until today, she remains to be a certified critical care registered nurse. As she moved up to the ladder of nurse leadership, she also sought growth in education, finishing her Master's of Science in Nursing from Grand Canyon University and her Doctor of Education with emphasis in organizational leadership and healthcare administration. Her dissertation is on relationship of inclusive leadership and employee engagement, mediating effects of organizational commitment and creativity, the innovation. She is a seasoned nurse manager and also a board certificate nurse executive. She's the owner and lead presenter in continuing education company in Humble, Texas, from 1997 to the present. A former director of critical care services, is ICU and MICU Central Telemetry and Vascular Services at Houston Methodist Willowbrook Hospital from August 2018 to March 2021, a magnet designated hospital. At present, she is the Vice President for Patient Critical Care Services, Respiratory Department, Wound Care, Diabetes Education, Exercise Physiologist, and Rapid Response Team of Baylor St. Luke's Medical Center of Houston, Texas, an 881-bed quaternary academic center, and the first designated magnet hospital in Texas with multiple specialties. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege and honor to introduce to you a multi-awardee nurse leader. Let's welcome Dr. Mila Divinagracia Sprouse.
Thank you so much, Chalk. I call her Chalk because that's what we called her before. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Dr.
Yes,
Sprouse,
ma'am.
we can hear you clearly.
Awesome, awesome. So may I share my screen?
Of course, Dr. Sprouse.
Wonderful. All right. Here we go. Good morning, right? In the Philippines, and it's good evening here in Houston, Texas. And as y'all notice, I'm wearing the Houston Astros t-shirt under my jacket right here because the Houston Astros are going into the playoff. They are on the playoff, and we hope that we're going to go all the way to the World Series. So go Astros. First and foremost, thank you for giving me the opportunity to actually share my thoughts about ethics and policy. And I'd like to give a shout out to, again, Ms. Castilla, who has been a wonderful friend and a classmate. And when she reached out to me, I did not hesitate to say yes. And I also know that we have other audience in here, and I want to say hello to my nephew and niece in Qatar. They're listening right now. So thank you for giving them the opportunity to listen to this presentation. And again, to your prestigious university, thank you very much. So I'd like to start with this quote, which is one of the things I love. And it says, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." And I do believe in this really faithfully. And the reason why is not only we've gone through a lot of crisis situation, not only in the United States, but around the world, especially with the pandemic. During 2020, I went through 3 surges, and this year I went through 1 surge. So I went through 4 surges. And during those times, I have seen the dichotomy of ethics and policies. And I know that you all have already spoken about ethics and policies, but I want to touch a little bit on the granular part of this, which is really what is seen in the real world. So the objectives for tonight's presentations are as follows: discuss the principles of nursing ethics on a higher level, describe the US healthcare policy, especially the Affordable Care Act, known as Obamacare, and why it is important to actually talk about that, discuss ethical considerations during the pandemic and the impact on nursing, and describe how to mitigate the challenges related to conflicts between ethics and policies. And why do I actually address number 5? Because I do believe as leaders, and even those who are not leaders, and I always know that everyone is a leader in their own self and in their own landscape, we have to always have a solution for anything that's right in front of us. So the principles of the nursing ethics, I want to actually move something here so that I can see what I'm talking about. All right, hold on 1 second. Here we go. All right, so it's all coming together, right? Number 1, respect a person's freedom to choose what's right for them. That is the autonomy part of nursing leadership. We have the ability to actually practice nursing. In my world, in an academic center and a quaternary hospital, that's pretty much where physicians are omnipresent. But what we actually are doing is changing that landscape in there. And that is for them to realize that there is autonomy when it comes to nursing. The second one is beneficence. And I heard our speaker actually spoke about that. It is about the intent to do good, always. And it's always one of my line when I speak to my nurses in critical care, and even across when I'm getting invited to speak on anything. And that is, do the right thing every time you make a decision. Number 3, treat and provide care fairly to all patients. That's justice, right? That's equality. And number 4, and of course, this is not all in this order, the non-maleficence, which is do no harm. And actually, that's where we need to start looking at what is going on when it comes to policies. So let's talk about the US healthcare policies, which is really a primer of everything that we have gone through in the US, as well as when the pandemic came to us. In 2010, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act was actually approved by Congress. And with that, it changed everything when it comes to paying the hospitals from our Medicare from a fee for service, and it shifted into value-based program. And what that means is that whenever you do something, it is tied into quality metrics. And those quality metrics, when they're good, you actually get reimbursement. When they're not good, you actually get a less reimbursement plus a penalty. And here comes the Hospital Consumer Assessment of Healthcare Providers and Systems, which is known as HCAP, simply known as patient satisfaction. It's a huge thing in every organization here, healthcare organization in the US. And nursing plays a huge role in this. And the reason why, nurses touch patients 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And they are the largest group of healthcare providers in any organization. And therefore, they drive this particular metric and all the metrics. Then we have our ANA's, American National Association's National Database of Nursing Quality Indicators. And that also is nurse driven. And with that, we have organizations going for magnet program because it's one of the reasons why nurses actually seek places to work for. Because when you are a magnet accredited organization, there's a lot of things that's done for nurses. And also it goes along with autonomy as well as what we do for our patients. Then the Beacon Awards for Nursing Excellence in Critical Care. And that is about recognition, leadership, as well as making sure our nurses have effective or skilled communication. And then the other thing that happened with the ACA or Obamacare is the electronic health records. And that really proliferated during the time it was established. And what that does, it actually opens up access to records across the country. And then comes COVID-19. What happened? Well, we have to actually adjust to a lot of these things. And now we're looking at policies of our government, as well as within the organization. And then we have to balance it with ethics. And we all talk about doing no harm, autonomy, and are we aligned? Well, when the crisis started, we actually had a lot of challenges that went with it. And these are the ethical considerations that we have to think about. If you guys look at the picture on the right, those are one of my 3 amazing nurse heroes. And don't you just love those poses? I mean, they are our heroes. Anyway, they are our night shift as we sleep during the night soundly, and they take care of our patients. So as far as ethical considerations, we look at individual liberty and protection of the public, right? You've got to balance that. In the US, we have a lot of things related to self-preservation as well as protection of the public. And we always wonder which one is going to rise above the other. I noticed from our previous speaker, nothing is negotiable when it comes to nursing ethics. And I totally believe in that. Pressure comes from different places though. And that's when we have to really look at how resolved are you when you're standing in there. Then you look at equity and proportionality. That in a way, it also matches with what our ethical standards are. We have to treat our patients with equal way. And then stewardship, trust, and solidarity. A lot of things happened during the pandemic. Our patients were not able to see their families and basically no visitation. And then we have patients in the emergency room more than the capacity. So which one do you treat first? We're going to talk about that. The duty of care is something that, again, our nursing ethics always push in front, and I believe in that. We became nurses because we are here to provide care for our patients. That's our duty of care. Then the privacy and confidentiality, and you all have HIPAA as well. So these are the things that we have to take into consideration during the pandemic. So when it comes to privacy and confidentiality, during the pandemic, we actually produced a lot of virtual ICU. So virtual intensive care unit, I actually was very much a part of that, is if you look at that picture, that's literally what it is. We have cameras in the patient's room, and it actually zooms in into the patient. And then we have a center that actually has all the monitors of the patients, and they all can see what's going on with the patients. And it's manned by intensivists, as well as nurse practitioners, as well as critical care nurses. And constantly they are evaluating the patient's condition. So what does that mean as far as privacy? In a nursing pandemic, that actually will be taken away in this part. And that's a dilemma, right? Because we want to make sure we take care of our patients. The one thing, though, that is important that we have maintained is that we don't broadcast our patients' names, and we actually still make sure that we maintain a certain privacy and confidentiality. The other part of this virtual ICU and electronic type of care is that we actually are able to share information with the public as far as numbers, and also centrally where the Texas government, and then they funnel all the information to the US government, and it's showing what is the number or what are the numbers there in your hospital. So when you say privacy, you can maintain that, but there's a part of it that we have to release because it's a pandemic. We need to take care of the whole instead of one person. Then respect a person's freedom to choose what's right for them. Do no harm. Now, in the United States, just like in the Philippines, we have the Bill of Rights. And the right to choose is very important for a lot of people in here. And also, of course, in other parts of the world, including the Philippines. And there are strong voices where everyone really wants to tell anyone that the government cannot and will not dictate what to do for myself. However, the government also has the right to protect the public. So that is now going to be clashing. And if you look at the right, that's actually right picture right there, when nurses refuse to get vaccine or vaccinated. That is across the country right now. It's also seen in my own organization. And the thing is, they have the right to choose, but we also have to look at the good for everyone, for everyone's good of the public. And that's why there's a mandate that we have to get vaccinated. So again, do no harm to the public as well as individually, and also balance with the policy of freedom. So nursing ethics, a scarce allocation during the pandemic. So when I think about nursing ethics and what we all have been talking about tonight, all choices made for a patient are made with the intent to do good, do no harm, treat and provide care fairly to all patients. The policies that are instituted within the hospitals and other places is scarce resource or rationing. And when I hear that, I just like want to die, because that's not what we are here as nurses, right? I remember the day I actually took my interview to become a nurse student at Colegio de San Agustin with Miss Castillo. The one question that I received was, why do you want to be a nurse, Mila? And do you know what the answer was? And I'm sure everyone else's answer was the same. To serve humanity. And at that time, I did not really feel the gravity of it. I felt that, but not until I really got immersed as a nurse and I know the value of it. And people would laugh when I say that, but it is true. But here you are in a pandemic and you have 32 beds, for example, of ICU, and you have 50 patients. You bedded 32 patients. There's still about 18 patients waiting to be bedded. So now, what do? I've been a part of decisions where we look at who is the sickest. The definition of that is rationing. When we say this patient needs to move out, that is rationing. It's just not on your face. It's subtle. And so one of the things that I always say is that, what about ventilators? On a daily basis, we had incident commands, and we talk about our resources. I was lucky enough, and I continue to be lucky, to be in organizations where we were not short of PPEs. But guess what? Because of the intensity of our critical care patients, we needed to support their airway. And how do we support them? Ventilators. There was not enough ventilators across the country. But you know what? We were able to manage that. But what if the day comes that we only have 1,000 ventilators and we have 1,500 patients? That's where scarce resource allocation is going to happen, because we have to take care of our sickest. And that is so against our do no harm. You guys know, you can tell from the way I speak that I feel very strongly about why we are here as nurses. You guys heard of ECMO, extracorporeal membrane oxygenation? And that's when you put big cannula in patient's arterial system, a big one on the venous system. You literally take the blood out. It goes into a machine that oxygenates the blood there, and it gets returned to someone. Not all centers in the US have that. And guess what? Our patients get really, really sick with COVID-19. And when they get really sick, they need this. So what if you only have 10 ECMO machines? The Scarce Resource Allocation Committee will sit down and talk about what's the criteria. That is rationing. And I'm going to tell you, if we ever get to a point where we have to vote, no one in this room is going to question or doubt what I'm going to say. I'm going to say no, because I am here to do no harm to any patient, young or old. Vaccines. There is a point in time in other parts of the world that vaccines were not available, right? And then PPEs. So I'm going to share with you a short YouTube. I don't know if it's going to work, but I will do that. If not, I will move on, okay? So hold on 1 second. Let's see if it's going to work. Ready? In less than 10 seconds with this revolutionary toothbrush. Can you hear? It was created by a well-known dentist. Can you all hear?
Yes, Dr. Sprouse, we can hear it. Is there supposed to be a visual, Dr. Sprouse? Because we don't have one here. We can only see your slides, ma'am.
Hold on. Sorry, that didn't work. So I'm going to explain to you all what that is. That is actually the preview of the God Committee. Have you all seen it? It's very powerful. And the God Committee actually reminds me of the Scarce Resource Allocation Committee. They make decision who gets the organ donation. And what a powerful thing to be in, to decide that this patient right here is not going to deserve an organ. Do you want to be a part of that? It's a question that you always want to think about. I'm a part of a Scarce Resource Committee, but you know, at the end of the day, you always want to go back to why you're here and how you got here. So impact on nursing, on a lot of the clashes of ethics and policies, moral distress is a huge thing. And that is when one knows the right thing to do, but institutional public constraints make it nearly impossible to pursue the right course of action, it leads to moral distress. When that happens, burnout is going to ensue. And you start having nurses becoming disengaged. And that leads to a big problem with retention and increase in turnover. Do you all know what is the vacancy rate of hospitals in the US? We used to track our vacancy and we always sweat out when we see that we're over 10%. Nowadays, it's over 30, 40%. And why is that? I do believe it's because of this right here. Moral distress, burnout, disengagement, retention, and turnover. Oh yes, the money too. How can you not resist that? I mean, how can you walk away when you just graduated with over $70,000 worth of student loan? How can you resist a financial payment when you have a house to pay? And how can you resist such $100 an hour or $150 an hour? And it's okay to be away from your family for 3 months, but your housing is paid for. And some places, they pay your student loan. So that's why we have our retention and turnover in shambles. So how do we actually mitigate this? The untoward outcomes, again, turnover and retention. The Institute of Medicine in 2010 published their study, and they recommended that nurses need to actually be functioning in their own level of training. Plus, they also projected that in 2025, the turnover is going to be high, as well as the vacancy rate. Well, it came in early because of the pandemic. A global crisis led to higher pay. And when you have higher pay, people migrate around every 3 months. What does that do for our organizations across the country? You will have nurses without commitment in your organization because they're not going to be there. And here's another part, less experience. We're seeing where nurses with 6 months after they graduated, they're going into travel agency. And so they go to these hospitals not knowing the policies. What do you think is going to happen to the way we care for our patients? What do you think is going to happen to our patient quality as well as safety? That is a huge, huge issue here. So what do? Leadership drives everything, as far as I know. And my dissertation actually showed that. We have to provide tools to effectively communicate what we need from our nurses. When we have the ability to communicate, that skilled communication, and it's not about speaking well, it's about the message. Why do we need you here? It's because you are a huge part of why these patients are doing well. And you say that and you acknowledge them. The other part of this, shared governance, give them the autonomy. That's what our nursing ethics is telling us, right? Autonomy to make decisions. Well, little things like autonomy in making schedules. I want to be able to take off on these days because my daughter goes to dance school. We have got to be able to adjust that. Recognition, even the little things, very important because recognition breeds engagement. And the other thing too is avoid the victim mentality. That is not in my book. We can do this. We can take care of anything because we are nurses. I was asked in one of the meetings, Mila, what if we have this many patients? How can your group of nurses take care of these many patients? My answer to that, just like what we've always done as nurses, we shift, we adjust, and we will take care of any patient that's going to walk in that emergency room. Exclamation point. Because we are nurses, and that's what we promised everyone, to do no harm and to take care of the patients. And lastly, legislation. It's very important that we have to have advocates and be involved in advocacy and be the voice for nursing. And I am a huge believer in that, because if you don't say anything, no one's going to fight for us. No one's going to speak for us. And I want to share with you, as I close this presentation, I was asked by one of my medical directors, Mila, I need you to give me some surveys among nurses. And I said, what are you going to do with that? And he says, I'm going to a meeting and I'm going to share that to the board. And I said, wait a minute. I respectfully want to actually say that whatever I get out of the survey, I will share with you, but I will go with you in that meeting and I will be speaking for nursing, not anyone else. And he looked at me and I said, and I mean it. And he says, okay, all right. But you still are going to share it with me, right? I said, yes, after the meeting. So that he started laughing. But anyway, I just wanted to share with you all on that one. So I want to close with this quote. And this is very, very powerful as far as I am concerned. And it applies to whatever or wherever you are. And that is, in a gentle way, all of us can shake the world. And what we need is each and every one of us has to play a role in making sure nursing is going to be sustainable today and beyond pandemic. Thank you very much, everyone, for giving me this. But oh, I forgot to share one of my favorite things, actually. So if you actually get to be around me, you will know that I love Loder, Lord of the Rings. A lot of the things that have been written about me is I always go back to passages in Lord of the Rings. And here's one of them, one of my favorite things that I always send a reflection to my team every week in past life. And it says, it's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo, the ones that really mattered, full of darkness and danger they were. And sometimes you did not want to know the end, because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad had happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing. This shadow, even darkness, must pass, end quote. Thank you very much. And again, thank you for inviting me in this wonderful symposium.
Thank you very much for accepting our invitation, Dr. Mila Sprouse, and for that informative talk on the clashes of policy and ethics in nursing in the United States and how professional practice has been greatly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. It is indeed a privilege to hear from a seasoned nurse leader based on another side of the world. So thank you once again. All
My
right,
pleasure.
so thank you, Dr. Sprouse. And now let us welcome back to wrap up her talk, Commissioner Sandra Montano.
Thank you, thank you. I'm sorry I was disconnected a while ago. I thought I'm still online. Thank you so much, Dr. Mila. I listened to your presentation and it was very superb. It's a great way really to connect with each other, especially now with the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, to wrap up my talk, okay? So there are so many reflections that we can share together right now in this platform, okay? So of course, one of the reflections that we have is we can use to learn from our experiences. Either you are in US, in China, in Indonesia, and the Philippines to gain wisdom and understanding and ultimately move our practice forward. One of the reflection also may increase our ethical awareness, our ability to recognize our ethical issues as they arise and respond appropriately. Therefore, sharing like this in this platform via Zoom, even in a different time zone, okay, our pandemic experience is necessary for our personal growth, and yet it's also reflect on the nursing profession collectively. Okay, so I just want to share to you some policy guidelines that we can mirror on here in the Philippines. Okay, we have seen lately, I think a few weeks ago, that there is this massive social media call for all the government agency to release the risk payment or the risk allowances. They have this low pay, high risk, the reality of nurses in the Philippines. The doctors and nurses has spoken already. Other allied health professionals have spoken out regarding delayed of allowances and benefits. Even as more workers are getting affected by the diseases, health worker groups warned mass resignation and protest could take place in hospitals across the country if the government does not fulfill its promise to improve the support of the sector. Okay, so yes, as Dr. Mila were able to discuss earlier, that one of the policy that we really have to put in consideration as priority is the providing PPE for healthcare workers, providing this vaccination and caring for the carers. Health workers are the most vulnerable group. We are the frontliners, and yet we are the most vulnerable when it comes to recognizing the health workers are vulnerable to COVID-19. WHO in the Western Pacific region published an interim decision-making tool to help manage the risk health workers face during COVID-19. Interim guidance on this prevention, identification, and management of health workers' infection supports decision makers to avoid transmission of COVID-19 among health workers. Of course, we really have to take care of our physical and mental health. And this is the most important thing that we really have to do as nurses, okay? We are not superheroes, okay? Yes, we are the unsung heroes, but we have our limitations considering that we have a lot of things to think within our mind, the pandemic has placed extraordinary levels of psychological stress on health workers in high demand settings for long hours while separated from family and facing the social stigma. Yes, we are facing a lot of social stigma when they know that, oh, you're a nurse. So what are the takeaway things that I want to share to you? Number one is we have to love ourselves first. We make sure that as nurses, our priority is of course, our health, our family, loved ones, and of course, at the other side of our moral compass is our patient, the hospital, the industry, and so on and so forth. I'm so happy to be sharing to you my again, okay, my always remember this, okay, nurses are beautiful beyond measure and powerful beyond pressure. So always think of that. Again, I'm so happy and I'm so delighted to be sharing the platform to you today. And we're looking forward. Okay, I'm inviting all our nursing leaders, who you are, where you are. You can check on my the last slide. Okay, that's my email address. Okay, so we can message each other in the messenger, or you can send me emails. Okay, I am here to be your voice in the policy making, and we make sure that we have all the best when it comes to the policies, the guidelines, especially the ethical standard of practice we have here in the nursing right now. Congratulations, and I'm so proud to all our nurses, our unsung heroes, our frontliners. Good morning, magandang umaga po, magandang gabi, good evening. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Montano, for giving us a fresh perspective on how application and consideration of policy and ethics in professional practice in the Philippines has greatly impacted us nurses by this ravaging pandemic. And thank you for taking time to be with us this morning.
Yes.
All right, so we are now actually done with all three speakers. So to top this morning's activity, what is a webinar without an interactive portion? So our question and answer portion is now open. So please utilize your chat boxes for Zoom and the comment sections on Facebook Live and YouTube. We will be addressing a very limited number of questions because of the limited time that we have. So our sincerest apologies for that. And actually, during the talks of our various speakers, I've already been receiving questions, and I have two actually selected by our respective committees, the organizers of this webinar. So may I invite back Dr. Mila Sprouse and Mr. Melbert Reyes, our PNA president, to open their cameras as we proceed with our question and answer portion. So we'll be having this like a roundtable discussion. All right. So I have here two questions, but the first one is actually for Mr. Melbert Reyes and to Honorable Sandra Montano. What policy can you propose to improve nursing practice in the Philippines? So this is actually one coming from one of our participants in this webinar, and this is actually this was actually posted in the middle of Honorable Sandra Montano's talk earlier. We may proceed.
Okay, can I be okay? So since my office is also our
With
mandate.
anyone who is already prepared to answer, of course, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you for that question. And since my office as the chairperson of the Philippine Commission on Women, one of the mandates that we have is on policy making and lobbying. So of course we have IATF policy already, and one of the policy that I would like really push on is on the release of the risk allowance, saying to prioritize all those who are part of the healthcare industry workforce. You don't have to identify if you are dealing or handling a COVID-19 patient. As long as you go on duty, even you are a security guard or in the linen division or in the nutrition department and so on and so forth, you should be part of those risk allowances that could benefit from that the government should given to all those who are part of the manpower system. Okay, and of course we know that there is this what we call the PPE. Some of the government agency, okay, especially in those far-flung areas, it's true. Ano po, nilalabhan nila, nire-recycle nila. So all we would like to ask you right now is to please coordinate with us, send us a letter, send those areas. Maybe na-delay lang po yung delivery ng inyong mga PPE or the medical supplies that you need. Okay, and of course we make sure that you're protected, and if in case you don't have all the protection that you need and you feel that it's not safe, because isa sa mga pinag-usapan natin sa ethical and policy making is you should make sure that you're 100% safe before you go on duty, then don't go on duty. Huwag niyong pilitin yung sarili niyo. Don't put yourself at risk. Okay, if you think that you are not in your frame of thought, in your moral compass, you are not well protected, then it's you can say, okay, I'm not going on duty because I don't have all this PPE that I needed to protect myself, my patient, and my family. So there is no negotiations on that. We have to do that, okay, but in case, okay, there's a way that we could improvise, and if there's a way that we could make things happen, okay, and if you think that again, it's the moral obligation is that baka wala kasing mag-duty na nurse, baka wala kasi kayong karelyebo, then you have to make all means. That's why it's, diba sabi nga natin, it's part of our kit that we have our own personal PPE. So that's one of the advices that I could give you also. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Montano. Now let's hear from our PNA President, Mr. Melbert Reyes.
Yeah, thank you. Can you repeat the question? I just rejoined Mr.
It's okay, sir. All right. So what policy can you propose to improve nursing practice in the Philippines, especially today?
Policies that we can propose. I would like, no, I am not proposing any policies, but I would like to push forward the advanced nursing practice, because it would be a big help, no, to our Filipino nurses, and at the same time to the Filipino people, kasi hindi matatapos yung frontliners, no, na salita with this advanced nursing practice, kasi we are at the front line now, no, considering that we are part of the healthcare team that fight this COVID-19, yan, even hindi nga lang front line of the front lines, because we stayed at the bedside of our patient. Now, if we will adhere to the advanced nursing practice, yung promotions of health will be vastly transformed, kasi yung ating mga Filipino people would be able to parang magkaroon ng reach, no, doon sa health promotions, kasi mas madali yung access to health with advanced nursing practice. And pangalawa po yung chief nursing officers, because we believe that this chief nursing officer will be our gateway to open, no, yung madilim na kahapon ng Philippine nursing, no, because this will address the different issues and concerns at the higher level. Katulad ng presentation ko kanina, we should we should support the creation of a position wherein magkakaroon tayo ng bosses at the policy making, no, at the decision making table, no, wherein they can put yung inputs, no, and ideas from the nursing sector, from a nurse perspective, no, to help our profession, the nursing profession, uphold its rights and the welfare of Filipino people, Filipino nurses.
Thank you for that answer, Mr. Melbert Reyes. And now let's connect one of the concepts that was introduced by Commissioner Sandra Montano to us earlier. So let's talk about lobbying. For Dr. Mila Sprouse, when we talk about lobbying, is there any new policy in the United States or maybe a law in state level that has been lobbied or instituted during this pandemic, and how has it impacted nursing practice based on your observation?
Well, there's a ton of things that were actually applied across as far as lobbying, and that is with Dr. Reyes actually mentioning advanced nurse practice. That actually has expanded because state by state is totally different here in the United States. There are areas in the United States, like for example, New Mexico, where the advanced nurse practitioner actually is able to fully practice without any physicians supervising. They can open clinics. If you drive about 10 miles across and you go to Texas or even Arizona, the practice is different. We have to have a physician supervising them. So what is happening is that they push for actually expansion of the nurse practice as far as the advanced nurse practitioner. So they were able to actually lobby for a little bit more, but not everything. When it comes to during the pandemic, I would not say that it's a lobby across the country, but there were actually exceptions that were given, some policies that were in place. Like for example, I'm just gonna give you a very, very real example. Our patients in critical care, their ventilators are usually next to them. On the pandemic, they actually had some rules that they applied, that it's okay to put the screen outside of the patient's room as we close the door. Another thing is that IV pumps with all the drugs that's flowing into the patient, they're usually next to the patient, but we actually got what we call waivers, and you can do that. We brought all the IV pumps outside so that there's less exposure for our healthcare professionals. With the pandemic, you don't want to be constantly going in and out of the room. And that was actually those were the things that were actually put in. We call them waivers. And another waiver that we actually got was we always have to make sure we have care plans, but they actually put a waiver on that it's okay to actually just do a pandemic or a crisis type charting. So there's a lot of things that were implemented to actually adapt to the pandemic. And it was done really rapidly. And we did rapid implementation because with the first surge, it was so fast. Things were coming to us and things were changing, information was changing, and we had to really flex really, really quickly. And that's why it's so important to have the right leaders around you, because it has to be done. And sometimes you do not have the time to actually get this long explanation. You are looking at your patient safety as well as your team, and you want to make sure they're also safe as they take care of the patients. So I feel like we were fortunate, even though we were in the pandemic. But again, there were some outcomes that were untoward that actually come out of this. And it's sad and it's unavoidable. But all I always say is that, you know, we pray and we are here because we're taking care of our patients and we do the best that we can. But more importantly, protect yourself, because without you, we cannot have people taking care of our patients. So.
Thank you, Dr. Sprouse, for that wonderful explanation, for giving us a very visual approach on how lobbying is actually being processed in the United States and how advanced nursing practice is actually being instituted in your area. So we were talking about advanced nursing practice, we're talking about lobbying. So as we lobby here in the Philippines for advanced nursing practice, as for our final word, do you think that it is actually possible for all three speakers, do you think it's actually possible, and how many years are we counting before we can actually institute advanced nurse practice here in the Philippines? Because when we're talking about advanced nurse practice, we're talking about an appreciable difference of more independent nursing practice for our healthcare workers. So this being actually a part of the sustainable development goals for us to be able to achieve it. So Mr. Melbert Reyes, any idea po kaya as to how long it would take us to get to that point?
Yeah, definitely. This is a brighter future for Philippine nursing. So yung advanced practice nursing. If we will be adhering, or if we wanted to adhere with the sustainable development goals, we need to ano ang tawag yan? State, no? Instill yung advanced practice nursing. No? Kailangan mangyari yung advanced practice nursing. As to when, it is good that it is being considered to be included in the new nursing bill that we are proposing, no, as initiated by the PR Board of Nursing. And if it becomes a law, if it will be included on the nursing bill, on the new nursing bill, wala tayong problem kasi, di ba, malilegalize siya, no? Madali na siya. It's for executions and implementation na lang. I think on the process of the approval ng advanced nursing practice din, nagkaroon lang ng konting mga clarification and concerns yung mga sector ng doctors, no, yung medicine. No, they have concerns as to how to draw the line between yung practice of medicine and nursing. So I think if it was addressed already, so siguro it will be a smooth, no, implementation na yung susunod, and malaking tulong if it will become a law, no? Yan, I think there are senators who, aside from the new nursing bill, propose a bill for that advanced practice nursing, because yung universal health care law, no, addresses the health of the people, no, every individual. Kaya naman if we will be yung health mismo, promotions of health will be introduced to every Filipino people. No? So, yun yung advantage that thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Sir Melbert. Commissioner Sandy, any thoughts on advanced nurse practice here in the Philippines?
Yeah, with the COVID-19 pandemic that we are having right now, it's high time for us to really lobby on the advanced nursing practice here in the Philippines, especially that Filipino nurses have been recognized globally, worldwide, for our contribution to foreign health care system across Europe, Middle East, North America, among others, especially during this time of pandemic. So we have the eyes, the ears, and the platform of our policymakers, of the government, of the Senate and Congress for all the plight of the nurses. And this is high time for the private and public partnership to really handhold together to make sure that our that the lobbying and our voices be heard, not only in the four corners of the legislative government, but also in social media. And at the same time, with all these parameters that's having, there's a lot of nurses who are dying. There's a lot of ethical, or there's a lot of mental health status that we are going to address right now. This is the right time, really. So I'm encouraging, and I'm saying that you are one with me in this kind of lobbying and policy making. We have to make sure, if it's not this year, it should be in the next Congress. It should be in the next government after the election. We have to make sure that we are there to promote and to lobby for this nursing care advancement for the Filipino, and not only for the Filipino nurses, but all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandy. And a final brief word from Dr. Sprouse, a word of encouragement to us nurses here in the Philippines as we move forward with advanced nursing practice.
Well, I probably will not have to preach on the advantages of having an advanced nurse practice program in the Philippines because of the rural nature of our country, and it's going to benefit tremendously. The one thing that we want to make sure is that it is clearly defined exactly what they have to do. And when you speak about lobbying, we have, I'm sure you all are doing the lobbying, but remember, there are a lot of stakeholders, and one of the biggest barriers probably, as you mentioned, Dr. Reyes, actually physicians, the group of physicians, because that's going to be an overlapping situation for them. But I know that if you guys need help from me, I'm available. I will be there with you shoulder to shoulder because the Philippines is my country. But one more important thing though that I want to say, the curriculum is very important and your university will play a huge role in actually producing advanced nurse practice, a future A&Ps, and your students right now will play a huge role in executing the curriculum because we need individuals with terminal degrees to teach A&Ps, not master's degree, terminal degree, doctoral program. And therefore, what you all do today, what you are doing tonight, well, tonight for me, is actually going to impact what's going to happen in the future. So yes, count on me to be there with you. If there's anything I can help you all, you know how to get a hold of me. I'm a huge believer in advanced nurse practice, and it's going to just help our nursing in general, not only in the Philippines, but across the world. So again, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Sprouse. And of course, thank you to our esteemed speakers, to our keynote speaker, Sir Melbert Reyes, our PNA President, Dr. Mila Sprouse, and Honorable Sandra Montano. Thank you for gracing us with your presence across different time zones and territories through our virtual space, and for giving us a fresh perspective on the various concepts related to policy and ethics in nursing practice. And now let us proceed to the awarding of certificates of appreciation. This is to be done by our mentor, the Dean of the Philippine Women's University School of Nursing, our very own Dr. Minerva De Ala. Dr. De Ala.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So, okay. Philippine Women's University, the Graduate School of Nursing, hereby awards the Certificate of Appreciation to Professor Melbert Reyes for his invaluable contribution in the advancement of nursing practice by sharing his expertise as the keynote speaker during this webinar entitled Policy and Ethics in Nursing Practice, given this 9th day of October 2021 at the Philippine Women's University, Manila. Signed, Professor John Oliver De Leon, the overall webinar chairman, Mr. Michael Justin Valles, the program committee chairman, and Dr. David Halle de Jesus, the course professor of this subject, and yours truly, your Dean of the School of Nursing.
Thank you so much po, Dean. Thank you po for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sir Melbert. Okay, so now we're going to give the certificate to the second speaker, the Philippine Women's University Graduate School of Nursing. Certificate of Appreciation is awarded to Honorable Sandy Montano for her invaluable contribution in the advancement of nursing practice by sharing her expertise as the resource speaker during this webinar entitled Policy and Ethics in Philippine Nursing Practice, given this 9th day of October 2021 at Philippine Women's University. Signed, Professor John Oliver De Leon, the overall webinar chairman, and Mr. Michael Justin Valles, the program committee chairman, Dr. David Halle de Jesus, the course professor of this subject, and yours truly, your Dean of the School of Nursing. Thank you. Thank you, Ma'am Sandy.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you. I'm looking forward to meet you personally very, very soon.
Yeah.
We're just a text away. Thank you so much.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
to
Yes, ma'am.
PWU family, maraming salamat po for inviting us. And of course, we're looking forward for more collaboration in the Philippine
Yeah.
Commission of Women and PWU and also the nursing organizations, especially PK. Thank you and good morning po.
Thank you. Okay. Now we will now award the certificate for the third speaker, Philippine Women's University, the Graduate School of Nursing. Certificate of appreciation is hereby awarded to Dr. Mila Sprouse for her invaluable contribution in the advancement of nursing practice by sharing her expertise as the resource speaker during the webinar event entitled Policy and Ethics in the Philippine Nursing Practice, given this 9th day of October 2021 at the Philippine Women's University, signed Professor John Oliver De Leon, the overall webinar chairman, and of course, our program committee chairman, Professor Michael Justin Valles, and Dr. David Hali De Jesus, the course professor for this subject, and yours truly, your Dean of PWU School of Nursing. Thank you, Dr. Mila.
Thank you so much. I'm very honored to actually be invited in here and get to know a lot of y'all. So thank you. Mabuhay. Remember that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. De Ala, and thank you to our resource speakers and our keynote speaker for this morning. And now allow me to read the citation for our awarding of certificates of attendance for our attendees through Facebook Live and YouTube, and even on Zoom. So now the Philippine Women's University Graduate School of Nursing Doctor of Philosophy in Nursing program hereby awards the certificate of attendance to each of the attendees for having attended, let us adjust it to 3-hour webinar event entitled Policy and Ethics in Philippine Nursing Practice, given this 9th day of October 2021 at the Philippine Women's University, Manila. Signed by yours truly, the Program Committee Chairman, Dr. John Oliver De Leon, the overall webinar chairman, Dr. David Hali De Jesus, course professor in policy and ethics and nursing practice, and our Dean of the School of Nursing, Dr. Minerva De Ala.
And now, for the presentation of token to our speakers, may I call on Mr. Arvin Baez, Clinical Nurse Supervisor of Calamba Medical Center, and Ms. Alma Aksalan, Infection Prevention and Control Nurse Manager of Calamba Doctors Hospital, and Ms. Jenny Lynn Abala, Professor of Nursing from Philippine Women's University, Manila.
Thank you, Ms. Mary Ann. We would like to take this opportunity to greet our PNA National President. A happy birthday, sir. We are grateful to have you in this very meaningful webinar. Please accept this token of appreciation from all of us PhD nursing students and as well as from the PWU community. This is a leaf art from a local artist, Miss May Takanay of Binyan, Laguna. Thank you po.
Wow, this is a dream. Dream ko magkaroon ng ganyan kay Mr. Dakanay. Shout out to my PNA chapter presidents, students of the PWU. Maraming salamat po.
Alma, you're on mute.
Alma? I'm sorry, you're on mute po, ma'am.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. And to Honorable Sandra Montano, Chairperson of the Philippine Commission on Women, we would like to present this token of gratitude, a leaf art from one of our local artists.
Thank you so much. I'm so appreciative of the token that you're giving me right now. As a matter of fact, I love artists because my husband is by profession an artist. So he do pastel, he do oil, and this one is very different. And thank you so much for the artists and to PWU family and to the community. Okay, mabuhay po tayong lahat. Thank you.
In behalf of my classmates from PWU PhD in Nursing, we would like to give you our heartfelt gratitude to our speaker, Dr. Mila Sprouse, for taking time to be with us this morning. Allow us to present to you the leaf art from May Aguilo Adacanay of Binyan, Laguna. Once again, thank you.
Thank you so much. I have to take a picture of this one. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Ma'am Alma and Sir Arvin, and of course, Ma'am Jeneline for giving our speakers their tokens. We will be sending our gifts of appreciation to our speakers soon via courier. For our webinar evaluation links, it is now posted on your comments section of Facebook Live and YouTube. Kindly fill up for us to be able to furnish your webinar certificates, and please kindly allow us time to be able to send your certificates, as an overwhelming number of attendees, 380 plus as a matter of fact, has filled up our 3 virtual spaces. To give us the closing remarks for this event, may I call on the Dean of Review and Academics and Services Director of Dr. Carl E. Balita Review Center, the overall webinar chairman of our webinar series. Let us all welcome back Dr. John Oliver De Leon.
Yeah, thank you so much. Greetings in peace, health, happiness, and prosperity amidst the pandemic. To our guest speakers, take our warmest gratitude, Honorable Melbert Reyes, Honorable Santi Montano, Dr. Mila Sprouse, and PW President Marco Alfredo Benitez, Dean of School of Nursing, Dr. Minerva de Ala, DPAA Dr. Felina Young, and Dr. David De Jesus, our faculty, and the faculty members, the committee heads, the students of the PW School of Nursing, and all the participants in our event. A blessed morning amidst this pandemic. Let us be grateful to all our speakers and conveners of this event by giving a heart reaction and commenting messages of gratitude in our comment section. Go ahead and let us be grateful for everything, for another day, and for a wonderful life. Whatever we have right now, we owe it to Him, and let us continuously pray for His will to be done in our lives. And I would like to take this opportunity to have a group picture with everyone. Can you please open your cameras to our dean, to our committee heads on Zoom right now? Can you please open your camera for a photo opportunity? Okay, so kindly open your camera to the other members. Miss Marielle, okay, so we'll take the picture. 1, 2, 3, and smile. Dr. Diala, are you going to open your cam? One more time, 1, 2, 3, and smile. Okay, so there you have it. So to all our fellow nurses, today we talked about the policies and ethics amidst the pandemic. The nursing profession is always under different dilemmas and changes. Nursing is constantly evolving and changing, with nursing education following suit. Current nursing practices must adapt to disruption from external factors like the pandemic, technological advancements, and sociocultural issues. This and other factors are driving today's trends in nursing. Also, the nursing profession is always under these dilemmas, and we must see, okay? And we must balance and leverage on to see what's right or wrong in every situation, to see what's good or bad in everything that we do, and see further all the consequences that may happen. We must know how to be ethical for us to grow and be better in our profession. I think what we must have is integrity. In what we think and what we say and what we do. Let us always see positivity in things, as well as giving the rational and ethical weighing of our daily nursing activities, from the nursing practice, nursing education, nursing research, up to nursing administration. Today, we have listened, and we must imbibe in our hearts all the policy and ethics in nursing to enrich our mind, body, heart, and soul. Just to share to you one of the biggest lessons that my mentor told me: always remember to do the right thing and push for things that will uphold other people, as well as for a better future, not only for us, but for the next generations. By the way, my mentor's name is Carl Balita. Let us all take a stand for our profession. To all of you and the rest of the team, thank you so much, and don't forget to keep safe. Thank you very much. Session me, terima kasih, salamat, God bless, and mabuhay.
Thank you, Sir Janus. And here's to our a bright future of the nursing profession. We started this day right, and we shall also end this the right way. So to close our session, may I call on a nurse entrepreneur, Ms. Alpha Marie Base, for our closing prayer. Ma'am Alpha.
Let us all bow our head and feel the presence of our Lord Jesus Christ. Loving Father in heaven, we want to thank you for giving us this day to be powerful and wonderful. What a joy you have provided us with your presence to learn and enhance our knowledge regarding the nursing environment. Thank you for the care and love that you have given to all of us, the attendees, speaker, and committee. We pray that as we end this webinar, may you guide us and implement love within our heart. Thank you for hearing our prayers and answering every doubt that beholdeth us. We will always believe in you, and thank you for the life, energy, and knowledge you have showered us this day. Through your name, all this we pray. Amen.
Amen. So thank you for that, Ma'am Alpha. So we would like to acknowledge a few people. This webinar will not be possible without the help of the following: Mr. Marco Alfredo Benitez, our University President, Dr. Minerva de Ala, the Dean of the School of Nursing, and to the whole School of Nursing as well. We would also like to thank our Professor, Dr. David Hali de Jesus, our mentor in policy and ethics and nursing practice, and to the different departments who are overwhelmingly supportive of students during these activities: the Information Technology Department, the Communications Technology Department, Broadcasting Team, Web Administration Team, and the Admissions and Marketing Department. And now for the webinar committee: John Oliver De Leon, our overall webinar chairman; yours truly, the program committee chairman; Ms. Mariel Sevilla, Sir Arvin Baez, Ms. Mary Ann Neri, Mr. R.B. James Sabonalia, and Ms. Alma Aksalan. Thank you so much for taking part on this momentous occasion.
To close this webinar, let us all sing the PWU hymn. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice day. Let us all keep safe.